how do you feel about AI being used in 3D model generation?
Now, it does depend on when we're going. Are we going CAD or are we going more art, like sculpture?
Let's start with CAD and then we'll do
Okay.
opinions on art and sculpture.
I think for CAD, while it's not there yet, AI will probably completely both destroy and revolutionize the design workflow. What I envision is a lot of the engineers that did make things now act almost like project managers, and they have to control the AI to give an output it needs, and then they go in at some step to fix the thing. At the end of the day, CAD is just math. I mean, literally, like step files are just really small math files to make a 3D model based on mathematical equations. Give it enough time, and AI will definitely be able to work out the steps it needs to do using tools made for it so it can generate models. Hell, it could even probably take an already done 3D design and edit it to what you need. Now, if that is in a style that isn't yours or in a format that you don't like, that's really not part of the question because that's again going back to the art versus artist conversation, where the artist makes the decisions, the art can just be whatever you typed it. But I do think AI will, probably within the next 5 years, hopefully less, be the thing that sends 3D printing into the stratosphere. Because once you have infinite design, because that's what AI will be, when it's at a good enough level of quality, the boundary for getting a design made drops considerably. You don't need to be an engineer anymore that knows how to use Fusion. You just go, beep boop, here's a picture or here is a requirement. I need two links that do this, and it's going to be made in this process in this material. That is good enough to make your design. That now needs to be made. I think that's super strong because the moment you have people going, oh, I need this custom thing made because AI generated it for you, well, they have to
Like
get it made. And there's not many people that make things, but
like
3D printers make things all the time.
one of these deburring tools, right? This is one of the plastic deburring tools. They're not the most comfortable thing in the world to use. So if I wanted to make a grip for it, I can, but it's complicated. If you don't know how to use CAD, taking a photo of this, uploading it, converting that into CAD, then saying, make me a grip that would fit a human hand to
Yeah.
hold it in this position, there is value to that. But I worry, similar to how we're seeing AI in business right now, where initially larger companies are going to say, oh, this is going to replace engineering, fire all the engineers. Then 6 months down the road, when they're having huge issues because the people they've hired to basically be that are giving the AI the prompts, right? The prompt writers, they're not getting the kind of quality that the engineers can. Now they have to backtrack and bring in the engineers again. I think we're going to see some issues in baseline CAD, but like the vast majority of phone calls that we get as 3D Musketeers are people that do not need professional engineering services. They want it, but they don't recognize what professional engineering services cost. If there was an AI that I could send somebody to and say, yeah, give it a few different photos with a ruler in it, and it will generate you an
It will
STL file.
do the thing.
Don't even give you a step file, give you an STL file. That'd be great. That would
Yep.
solve so much of the issues that we see in this kind of baseline, I have broken thing, I need good thing.
So you said something, and I really want to highlight it because it's something I don't think you realized has a lot of complexity in one sentence.
Yeah, the
I
multiple
don't want
photos and stuff.
no, no.
Oh,
That's easier than you think.
okay.
I don't want a step file. I want an STL file.
Well, an
Do you know
OB
why they are very different?
well, a step file is parametric surfaces and solids versus a step file versus an STL file, which is your triangulated surface tessellation, right? ST and STL
Yes.
is surface tessellation. So instead of big, base parts that can be redesigned and worked on, you get a surface made up of tris and quads, right?
Yes. And that is why I wanted to focus on it.
That's
A
easier than you
step
think,
file,
though. Steps are
no, a
difficult.
step, it's actually the other way around.
Really? Because
Be-
Geomagic Design X says otherwise. All
well,
my
so this
scanners
is
can
what
get no. You, I'm talking because I have experience in this BS, and I'm upset.
I know. You're right, but also wrong, which is what makes it so good. Because tessellating a file is the easy stuff, but tessellating it good becomes harder.
It doesn't need to be
Step
good.
files, Well, step files are because they are parametric, it's easier to let an AI use a tool using a step file than it is to make a tessellated object in the same way that you need. If you told a computer in like a year's time, make a cube with a hole in the middle, the step file will come out better. But the tessellated file might round the edges a bit because it's tessellating them. It has to make that decision on every facet.
Fine.
The step file only makes it on a math algorithm of 4 lines.
I will agree on simple. I will agree on simple CAD. But if you present me a object with more organic shapes to it,
Oh, then it's pure tessellation.
okay. All right. See, that's where I was going. Okay, we had a fundamental misunderstanding there. See?
And the reason
Look at
being is
that.
all because math. If you can
Like,
mathematically figure it out in simple steps, the step file will win. If it's more, I scanned a person and I need a CAD file, oh God, do not do that in a step file.
well,
That is a
okay, so
tessellated
like
file.
that's a lot of what we have to do here, where we have big, crazy, complex stuff, and we have to scan it and then make a step file out of it. There is one program out there to do it right now that does it in any way decent. It is $10,000 a year. It's Geomagic Design X.
To be fair, that's coming a lot quicker than people think. Like, eventually, tessellated files will be editable super easily because the
Well,
AIs that are learning to use the tool sets will be able to just be like, I'm just going to use Blender, do a program that has been coded by my AI overlord, and then apply it via Blender to get a tessellated file change out of it.
so
But that is much further off than people assume. Step files will come first. Tessellated files has that initial adoption
for
where
the
it's easy enough to go from picture to tessellation and
yes,
retessellate. But going from tessellation to editable tessellation or doing cool things with it, that's going to take a lot more time
mm,
than going from step files, which is basically impossible at the moment, and then it's suddenly going to just work.
like if you can build some sort of AI that will take a 3D scan data, process it locally, because I will not do cloud-based processing. Process it locally, and I don't care if it takes longer, don't care. And you can do that for STL files or OBJ files from 3D scanners and give a step file out of it. You have a $5,000. You could eat at least half of the market of Geomagics by making it 5 grand a year. And Geomagics has a fair bit of subscriber. That's the kind of stuff that starts to worry me because like we've seen consumer grade scanners get better and better and better, but the
Yep.
one thing they miss is like the certification. So like my Shining 3D Einstar goes blow to blow, toe to toe every single day with my Artec Eva, a scanner that is 20 times the price, more than a Shining 3D Einstar every single year. The one thing outside the software is objectively better on Artec side. And it should be because it's money. Shining 3D software is free. But the one thing that Artec has that Shining 3D doesn't, certified, certified, certified.
So that's a really interesting point because it's almost impossible to certify an AI. As in, I'd
Yeah.
actually stand by it is impossible to certify an AI because they are statistic models. And the way certifications work at the moment is it has to be a guarantee. Well, unless they're willing to change the definition of what a guarantee is to they guarantee 9 out of 10 times it will work, it's almost impossible to certify AI because you cannot guarantee the output. They are not state machines. You cannot state in, state out. They are the question mark that 99.9% of the time might be right. It's that 0.1% of the time which makes it impossible to
But
certify as a tool.
could it get there? Or could it get good enough that it doesn't matter anymore?
And that's the bit. Where is the line of good enough to be certified versus the definition of certified?
Dude, there's so many opportunities here where AI can fill in the gaps that we have right now. Like even if we took like a GPT and trained it on nothing but print fix Friday.
To be fair, that is a lot more standard than you think
Oh,
because
I'm sure.
most of the bigger advancements in AI are all large language models.
But
They are
I'm
transformer based stuff. There's not much going on in the diffusion from what I've seen. Again, I'm out of touch.
I look at it from a use case perspective of can that like what is the value that that presents where you can show it a photo of a print failure and it gives you things of what it could be. There's no
Ah,
guarantee. But see, print
so
failures there are so many exterior stimuli
Well,
and factors that can impact a print. Like,
I wanna break that down. So you just said, show a photo to get the output. That has 3 stages, maybe 4 stages. 1 is the photo.
yes,
You upload a photo. You
yes,
then need image recognition.
yes,
So image recognition is a completely different side thing. You now need to train an image of what the issues are so it can recognize those
yes,
issues. That is very much closer to the state machines that can be certified. So you'll give it like, I don't know, probably like a visual slam model or probably like a YOLO model, and then it can segment a picture. So take me, for example, you get a cutout of me
right.
and then a cutout of my shirt. And it can go shirt, human, lights behind, monitor, like those sort of things. That needs to be trained on its own as a tool. Once you have that output, you then need to feed that to another separate AI. And then that can then take the input, which is your segmented picture, and go, oh, you have this issue. Therefore, I'm going to go through my transformer generation sequence to give you possible fixes. And then that will give you possible fixes. Then it can use another tool to then access the slicer to go, these are the settings you need to do to change that. So it's not just throw an image in, it gives you an output. It's almost like you're using a group of tools, which is an AI based for image recognition, an AI based for understanding what the image recognition is, and then an AI based for controlling another tool to go into the slicer. It's very complex.
But
It,
the
it the
image
current stage of it is very complex.
but the image recognition is not too far off. I mean, the examples that I've seen from Spaghetti Detective, Obiko are very good. Like, it's able
I
in
think
real
they're even using
time.
out of date models. I
They could
think
be.
the model Spaghetti Detective is using is a fairly lightweight, small one.
Well, because it's designed to
I
run on a
think it
freaking Pi, of course, it has to be
yeah,
lightweight.
I think it was like YOLO 4, which is you only look once, like a YOLO 4 Lite version.
W
We are heading into a very weird time where a lot of the jobs that are the backbone of industry are going to be consumed by AI.
At least initially.
And yeah, it's pretty much an eventuality at this stage is as AI develop. Now, bear in mind, so one of the things that a lot of scientists are unsure about is where on the AI development scale are we actually sitting? So they love throwing out the word sigmoid curve, which is this lovely S-shaped curve where you start developing something, it takes a while, then suddenly money gets injected, it develops really fast, and then you get towards the end of development and then it peters off. Take of it like steel. Nobody used steel eventually. It was always Iron Age and Copper Age and all of this. And then steel started to be used and it started to tick up. And then everyone's like, steel is great. We can make steam engines and steam turbines and swords. And it shot up. And then we're at that latter end. We're over here now, where we now know pretty much everything there is to know about material science relating to steel. There is pretty much no more advancements we can make because we have tried everything. Unless we somehow make new elements that physically can't exist, we've tried every combination of every steel of everything. For AI, we don't know where on the sigmoid curve we are. We could be still right at the bottom, where we haven't even started to see the development of AI.
Quite frankly,
We could
we're
be like looking at the light bulb being invented and being like, we're finished, we're done, it's all that.
well, it's hardware limited, I assume, right?
Ah, we don't know.
We don't know.
There is multiple research papers about
Hmm.
hardware versus efficiency or the type. So take large language models at the moment, which is what everybody knows, big server farms, billions of dollars being pumped into electricity to calculate all of this. And they're like, oh yeah, if we need more compute, we just build more.
Yeah, we
Well,
just build more computer.
what if you make the algorithm twice as efficient? Like micro changes, like you save 2 milliseconds per transaction, and suddenly you've halved the complexity of the program without changing hardware. So you've got software development as part of that curve. Then you've got hardware improvements. So you could double your compute in the same space, or you could double the amount that way. So you've got all of these things that are nebulously going along. That's just compute, how much you have available. Efficiency of the program is how much compute you need to get the output. But now there's new questions, which is where is the end of that? Because DeepSeek toriously came out and they're like, we trained the same quality as GPT-4 for 1/10 of the cost with just a more efficient method of doing the training. And then you have a process called grokking, which is not related to the Elon Musk Grok AI. If you train an AI to a certain point, it learns really quickly and then it kind of stops and then it overfits. And if it overfits, it's bad because now the quality is really low. Well, somebody was like, well, what happens if we just keep training it? And then they started seeing it ticks up again. And then it goes higher than it was previously. So now you have this like double curve of quality, but you need 10 times to 100 times the amount of compute to get to that level. So there's a big cost in it. We have no idea on that sigmoid curve of AI development if we're
Where it
in the
is.
middle, where it's developing really quickly, if we are right at the start, where one small change to an algorithm can explode everything, or we're right at the end, where we found the limit of what the technology is available. Like if we add more compute, which is what a lot of people thought with grokking, was
Yeah.
you saw it overfit. They were like, well, you can't compute past that. Well, now you can compute past it. So we don't even know where the end is. We could be anywhere in this curve, and that is scary.
Like, when will we see the first movie fully generated, like all the special effects fully generated in AI? And when will we see studios start to go after the designers, the creators, in favor of the technicals that are very good at giving prompts? And I think that's where we'll start to see that tipping point. Now, what's interesting to me is that that entire industry, the entire movie industry, is unionized here in the United States.
Ironically, now this is a complete personal thing. I've not read this anywhere. I think unions will just disappear once AI becomes big enough because,
Not in the US.
well, the reason being is why watch a Pixar film where you've got a big union film being made when if AI does get good enough, you could just have one guy with that idea in his head and do the same thing. Like it will stop being able to be unionized because the accessibility of it will be very easy. So now the creative that has that vision to make the perfect film will spend the time and effort to use it on AI, whereas the unions will try to slow down the adoption, which actually I believe will be bad because it leaves everyone else that it just wants
It
to do
might
the
stifle
thing,
the
time to do the
innovation.
thing. Exactly. So instead of allowing the industry to shift into a more AI accepting role, they're going to be like, no, films are made with people, they're made with on camera thing, and it's just going to disappear because it's going to be overtaken so quickly with a technology that they are fundamentally not wanting because it does threaten the current job ecosystem. I'm not saying it's not something to be scared of. It is something to be scared of. I think a lot of jobs are on the line, and I think the industries we live in at the moment are going to be fundamentally either impossible to maintain or destroyed when AI becomes big enough.
The big scary question is, where do all these people go who lose their jobs? And
Exactly. We have no idea.
we don't know. I believe the mass adoption of AI is pushing us closer and closer and closer to the reality of Idiocracy, the movie. If you haven't seen that movie, go watch it and just really wonder how it was so far ahead for its time. And also remember, that was the first time Crocs were ever used in a movie because they found a footwear they thought was so ridiculous nobody would ever buy it. And then ask yourself how many pairs of Crocs that you own. My answer is zero.
Now, I actually want to bring up something that Mike Jones just put in, which is AI will free people from robot work. I strongly agree with this. There are so many jobs, even well-paid jobs, that I don't believe people should be doing. Like let's boil it back down. Let's go to the level of you are a cashier. You stand because apparently America doesn't allow seats. You stand at a checkout, you move one arm, you go beep, you ask for money. That is your job. That is not a fulfilling job. That is a complete waste of humans' potential to create works of art, to design, to have social interactions that are memorable in their lives. I am more than happy watching a lot of these jobs disappear, even though it will destroy people's lives in the process. And it's going back to film and industry. How many people in the film and industry are currently burnt out, overworked, underpaid? On top of that, they're doing menial tasks like rotoing blades of grass in a film just so they can make this really nice thing, and then they will ship it off to a foreign country anyway because they need that profit because that's all that they care about. Like, that isn't good for human psychology. It's not good for the human mind. It's not a good use of the skills of the actual artists that know how to make works of art, and they're being told, "Hey, just paint a blade of grass in there and do that 50 million times because that's the job for today." I just it does hurt me as much as it excites me because it will free people from the mundane whilst also destroying any of the creative side that they would have been doing in the first place. I have no idea what stance I should take other than
I don't like it. So, like, and I guess it's different here in the US that we have people working we might consider as an AI replaceable job, mainly because they get healthcare. And I recognize that outside of the United States, that's not something that people will do because you have government provided healthcare. In the United States, we don't have it. And you might say, but Grant, what about, the American Health Care Act or Obamacare, right? You can actually be too poor to get assistance. There is a line, and if you make less than that line, you don't get any assistance. You're literally too poor to get assistance. So a lot of people will go work day jobs, especially creatives. They'll go work day jobs that they detest because they're worried about getting into a car accident, getting sick, breaking a bone, where that would put them in so much debt financially that no matter how creative they are, it would change the course of their life. And it would not change it in a productive
mm,
and useful way. I mean, literally, I am here today with YouTube because I couldn't walk, because I got injured. I said, well, I'm just going to share my passion with the world. Would that have happened had it not been for that injury? I don't know. Maybe because, during the 2020 era, right? I might have just still done it, but I don't think it would have happened as soon as it did. I look at people in different countries, and I think that the reasons for some of those jobs, like in the States, you see a lot of young people doing them because they need a job to make some extra cash.
yep,
When we were traveling, I noticed it was a lot of elderly. It was people that we would consider more toward retirement age that were doing it for what I assume was because they were bored and they wanted to do something. And if they could make a little cash doing it to support going on vacation, going on holiday, that would make sense. While I don't disagree that AI could replace some of those jobs, I worry about the future generations in the United States or in countries that don't have a more, I'm going to use the broad term of socialized healthcare. This is
mm,
not to be political, but it's a generalized term. I worry about the people that are doing those jobs to get the healthcare and the help that they need, that all of the sudden won't be hireable anymore. And I worry about that. I worry as a business
mm,
owner. And it's why, as a business at 3D Musketeer, we do our best to say no. If staff want to use AI as a means of inspiration, as a means of whatever, go ahead. But it is not something that we use as an end product. Even when we were doing a lot of our articles on our website via AI, they were still processed by humans. They were still read by humans, edited by humans. All the SEO was made better by humans. Like we did this as a means so that we could maintain these skills. And it upsets me that capitalism says I should fire those jobs. I should learn how to do it myself or pay someone half the amount of money to do it for me. And I worry so much about the future because I know businesses are going to do this and it's going to happen where we have an entire generation of people that never had
mm.
those crappy jobs where they learned about customer service the hard way.